Now, before we jump into it, I just want to let you know this train is in motion. We have been doing a rewind of the amazing conversations that I had during my recent Couples Love Week event. Now, Couples Love Week is a signature Denise Taylor live event where I bring 5 amazing couples to the virtual stage and we talk about love and we talk about relationship. And it is without fail that wisdom and knowledge are brought forth that can help encourage us all. You see, one thing about love is it feels so difficult because it is making us compromise and sacrifice in ways that we didn't expect going in. And one of the tricks of the enemy is he gets us to think that we are alone and things that we're experiencing are too hard to overcome. And what happens when you build community is you begin to realize that you're not alone and you begin to be encouraged by one another. That's exactly what happened with the First Wives Club. The First Wives Club is a community that I created in November of 2019, and it has blossomed with international reach around the world. We are in there as women and wives who are committed to winning at love. The First Wives Club is open to anyone who wants to come in. You don't have to be his first wife, nor do you need to be a first lady. First is indicative of the priority we need to give to ourselves. Now, the other thing I shared over the last couple of episodes is that in addition to the success superpowers, I also have the relationship superpowers. And I've talked about 2 of them. And today I want to go deeper on number 3. Number 3 is accepted. I'm the good thing. Now, we've all heard that scripture that says, he who finds a wife finds a good thing and obtains favor with the Lord. But let me say this, your husband finding you does not make you good. Yes, you are good. But when he found you, you were already good. God created you that way. God says so many incredible things about who we are, and it has nothing to do with who we are attached to other than him. So beginning to transform your thinking about your worthiness and about your qualities and about your ability and accept that you are the good thing will allow you to show up more transparently and authentically in your relationship. And if you're anything like me, who has trauma in their past, accepting your goodness can be a struggle. But I'm telling you, when you make the exchange of all the things that make you feel bad for all the things that make you feel good, you'll show up stronger and more effective and powerfully in your relationship. Now, today, we are going to have the Holts join us on the virtual stage. And I think that you're going to hear in their experience how this is a powerful connected trait to how they love together. I want you to listen for I'm the good thing and the nuggets that radiate as they share. And I want you to think about how you may need to shift your own thinking as it relates to your goodness as well. Now let's get into it. Well, it's Denise. And if you ask me, 8 is definitely more than enough to love on. We recently celebrated Ride or Die season as a part of my signature Denise Taylor live event, Couples Love Week. Twice a year, we go deep on love, relationship, and winning together with 5 featured couples. And recently, we talked with those ride or die couples anchoring in on faith, love, family, commitment, and trust. Today's Rewind episode features night 3 of the live event. You can't be a ride or die unless you have family. Having someone to love you unconditionally in spite of you and your shortcomings. With Art and Shelley Holt, family is a big deal. They never imagined 8 children would fill their quiver, but it is so. As a blended family, yours, mine, ours is real. And being united takes tons of love, diligence, and patience on everyone's part, especially mom and dad. Their children's ages range from 28 years old to an infant. So there's parenting at every level, every day. They juggle a lot, have overcome a lot, and are still working through a lot. Yet they remain committed to family, and that is the real blessing. We'll discover more about the power of love and their relationship success as we tap into their journey of growing together. So now when we think about family, look at y'all. So when we think about family, I came up with this definition. It certainly is not an end all be all, but it's about having someone to love you unconditionally. And that's a huge word, unconditionally, in spite of you and your shortcomings. Now, when we think of the Holts, we know that they are a blended family that is unified in love, peace, and that they are working to make it happen together. Now, they look like they 22 over there, right? This cute young couple, but this power pack couple, they have 8 children, believe it or not, ranging in age of 28 to less than a month. Is she a 1 month old yet? Okay, so she's 1 month old. They have a huge range of children, definitely started their journey with yours, mine, and ours. And what I will say is impressive about them is they have torn down every scenario of gender roles. They have torn down every scenario of, how we're going to do this thing together. And they have locked arms into being a family, a parenting unit, a husband and wife together. And that is what I admire. So Shelley and, I'm so used to saying Dr. Shelley, but Shelley and Art, I want to welcome you guys to Life, Love, and the Pursuit of Happiness, Couples Love Week, Ride or Die season. You're welcome to all of it, okay?
Thank you so much. We're so glad to be here with you. And we're just juiced.
Now, see, y'all got the right scene because y'all got all elements of family around you. And so that is a beautiful space that you have chosen. And thank you so, so much for being here. I'm excited if you haven't picked up on that. Now, Art, I want you to do me a favor. Around these parts, it is a tradition that the husband introduces the wife. Now, I'm going to tell you, this is the time to love on her real strong with all your words and let your swagger come on out and, dote on her a little bit. But I'm going to pass the mic to you so that you can do the honor of introducing your beautiful wife.
That's not a problem at all. This is my beautiful wife, Shelley Janine Holt.
My full government name.
she's always just been an amazing person. When we met, she was, we met with a lot of hilarity, comedy, fun, everything all mixed up. But as our relationship started to grow, I started to learn how intelligent, how classy she is, and how loving she is and committed.
Oh, wow, that's beautiful. Man, Art, no more babies, okay? But that was a beautiful introduction. All right, Shelley, the mic passes to you. Do us the honor of introducing your handsome husband.
So this is my husband, Arthur Holt, who we've been married quite a while now. He is an amazing, amazing father. You got to be. To have as many kids, to children that he birthed, children that he didn't birth, children in the community. He's just a father and a father figure. During his day job, he's a community liaison at the high school. So he also serves as a role model and a support for the kids in our community, many of which, they deal with all kinds of struggles and challenges, but they always know they can go to Mr. Holt and he's going to take care of them. He's going to love on them. He's going to make sure they're all right. And I would say even the same thing with some of the adults at his job. Everybody goes to him. He is the most calming force in our house. When you talked about the roles and all the switching of the roles, he is the most loving, patient person, which really does complement my kind of go-getter, let's get it done yesterday, kind of style. And He is so understanding and graceful. And he's truly a servant. I mean, I can tell you that I want for nothing. And that is all because I am married to one of the most amazing men on the planet. So this is my husband, Arthur Holt.
Oh my God. You guys did an amazing job with your introductions. And because I know you, I can say how authentic I think that was. He definitely is the calm to your storm. I will say that for sure. And if there was a yin and yang match, if that was to be true, that is the complementary benefit that you guys have for one another. You know, as an outsider looking in, he is so patient with the children. He is a caregiver in every sense. And so I can echo just from the limited exposure that I've had what you had to say about him. And so he definitely gets the cool dad award for sure. Now, Art, there's a moment in every love story when you know that that person is the one. He's not tearing up on me, is he, over there?
No, girl. We're dealing with the heat debate that we have in our house. I like it warm. He burns up. So I'm sitting here by the fire. I am living the dream in my happy place. He over here cooking.
And like, I got this big old light hitting me in the face.
See, we do this all day long with these lights in our face. And he's just like, you got the light in my face. You got the heater on. So that's all.
And this, my dear friends, this is Art and this is Shelley for sure. They are giving you the true authentic version of who they are. I just love them. So, okay, Art, I'm sorry that we got you roasting underneath the lights. That's what happens when it's showtime. So you're just gonna have to bear with it for a minute. But in every love story, there's a moment when you know that person is the one. So Art, tell me about the moment you knew it was love and you wanted to spend the rest of your life with Shelley.
It started early on, you know, when me and Shelley first met, like at least 2 months in, you know, I already felt that, you know, this could be the one, even though I just got out of a relationship. It was years ago before we met, but, you know, just having that fear of getting back together with somebody so serious and actually feeling that tingle that you get in your heart and in your spirit that this is the one. Well, it was, I wasn't expecting it, but it happened, and it happened with her quick. And it kind of scared me for a minute, you know. But that I knew early on in our relationship. I mean, really, really soon, really quick. And here we are today, you know, it's still strong. It's still, like you say, it's a ride or die situation here, you know. We'll do it all for each other, lay it all out on the line for each other. And yeah.
That's beautiful. I can tell you're so smitten. Mm-hmm. That is really, really beautiful. Now, tell me, how many years have you guys been married?
That's 12.
12 years. Okay. All right. Shelley looking at you like she doing the math, wanting to make sure it's.
I did it already.
I am. I'm going now. Carry the one. But he's the romantic. He has all of that.
Yeah. That's beautiful. So 12 years. Gosh, I can't even talk. 12 years later, to see him still get really, really captivated about that moment is absolutely beautiful. You can tell it's a moment that he treasures because he just expresses it with so much authenticity. And so thank you so much, Art, for sharing that. Now, what would you add to the story, Shelley? What would you add to the love story?
Well, I'll tell you the real deal.
Oh, Lord.
See, what had happened was, yeah, that's why you heard him saying that. So the beautiful thing about Art, this is my first and only last, you know, this is it for me, my first marriage. But Art, like you said, he was coming out of another relationship. And although it had been about 5 years, he was still very much love shy. And so in the middle of all this, we were dating and everything was going great. And he was so smitten with love that he disappeared. Disappeared into nowhere. We're like, what happened? Where's Art? And the beautiful part of that story that I can tell now 12 years later, and take this nugget and use it, and ladies who are raising young ladies, use it as you will. There's a certain part where we as women, you just know something's up, but everybody don't need to know my business. Mm-hmm. And so Art kind of disappeared, but right after my birthday in August. And it was interesting because my girlfriends were like, hey, how y'all doing? Oh, we're fine. I hadn't heard from him, didn't know where he was. September went, October went. How's Art doing? Oh, he's great. Tell everybody all your business. And then come December, when his mother passed, and then I reached out. I was like, okay, I'm going to give you your space, whatever's going on. I just want to reach out and say, hey, you know what? I'm thinking of you. I've never stopped thinking of you. I know this is a hard time. And it was interesting because he hit me back almost immediately. Like, I've been thinking about you. This is just a lot for me. And literally right after his mother passed, we got, I wouldn't say back together in our eyes, but everybody else just thought everything was just fine. And, we moved pretty quick and got married after that. And the beautiful part of that is when but sometimes you got to give men a little bit more space. And there was something in my gut that said, he's a good man, but there's something there. There's something going on that he needs to work on. And the truth of the matter is, God had some more work to do both in both of us separately, but he gave us a glimpse. He was like, here, I got something for you. Let me show you. And then he's like, now keep working on yourselves like I told you to. And I promise you at the right time, I'm going to bring you back together. And that's what he did is, he let me work through some of the things that I needed to work through, especially because I was a single mother. And, there's a lot going on when you're going to share your life with somebody. There were things that he needed to work through as a single father, and what was happening with his mother at the time. And the beautiful thing is God brought us back together, and it was smooth sailing from there. And so that's the part of the story that we don't really tell a lot of folks, but I feel like those folks that are looking at blended relationships and getting relationships where you do have kids, you do have other responsibilities, and your full focus can't be completely on, the relationship, or you got to get your own kitchen together before you can share it with somebody else. That it doesn't always mean that he or she is not interested or he or she doesn't care about you. Sometimes God still has some work that they need to do on them and work that he needs to do on you. And we've got to have faith. And so there was something in us that said, this is the person, but something's up. So let's just let God's timing come through. And 12 years later, and I couldn't be happier. And, we're one of those couples where we don't, knock on wood, we don't have any strife. 12 years. And I can honestly say we've loved each other every day through it.
Yeah, that's actually really great wisdom, because a lot of times we can discredit the relationship we desire by bad mouthing. I'll say it this way. I was at church Sunday, and the pastor said, our prayers are really just worry out loud. Like, they ain't real prayers. And so when you start going around telling the story to everybody, you just worrying out loud. And I love the sovereignty in the moment where you got the wisdom that says, I don't need to put that pressure on the relationship here. Something obviously is going on. I'm sure you played back everything and was like, it was all good, so it couldn't have been something that happened. It had to be some other factors that were at play. And I appreciate you acknowledging your own patience in that process, because you could have ripped it apart. You could have discredited his name in the eyes of everyone if you would have let your mouth get real loose. And so I really believe that there is a great nugget there for people to take, because now when it was time to reconcile, y'all were able to deal with it yourselves, as opposed to having to deal with it out loud and in front of everybody, because now you got to go back and explain to her, him, them. Why are you making this choice? Why are you making this decision? And so I think that was a very excellent move on your part, especially when you could sense something is good here with him.
Yeah,
Very excellent.
so hopefully folks take that nugget and run with it. Because but it wasn't easy. I'm not gonna sit up here and say it was easy. There were times when you're like, am I being foolish right now? He could be out, doing God knows what, gallivanting, sowing his royal oats, so to speak. But there's also a piece when you're blending a family where you got to appreciate somebody who takes a step back and says, you know what, I'm taking on a woman that has children. I have my children. Like, this is a big thing. It's not just, getting caught up in those lustful moments and we connect. We're literally blending two families, which means we're also blending past relationships that are going to be involved. And that's a cause to pause. And luckily we had the wisdom and everybody handles that differently. I would have handled it differently than he did. We've had these conversations many times but he handled it the way he handled it. And I had to, this is where we become a yin and yang for our partner. That was our first example of being a yin and yang. Yeah, he did something. I may not have liked the way he did it, but I had to be his yang to that to make sure that it came out in the right way. And there may be things that he may not like the way I'm doing something, but he's going to be my yang on the other side to make sure that everything comes out good in the end. It's not about who does what. And, the Bible talks about love does not keep a record of wrongs. So it's not about, oh, well, you did this to me and then I did that to you. It's about, all right, if you're struggling, then I need to be your strength. And if he's struggling, then I need to be his strength. It was more of a struggle for him when we came together than it was for me. Quite frankly, he had much more baggage than I had coming in. I was much more independent and free. He knew his baggage that he was bringing in. And it was like, we got to figure out how we're going to deal with this.
Well, I think part of it too is he's all in and you can tell that. And so pulling yourself back from a relationship, regardless of the circumstances that went on to cause it to fail, was still healing that needed to occur. And I appreciate that he was cautious. We're talking about Art like he ain't sitting right there.
Like he ain't sitting right here, right? Just
I must have read my mind. I was like, I ain't gonna say, don't ask me nothing else.
But you can tell he was all in. But Art, would you like to talk about your own perspective?
Right.
As far as, I know we were on this question. Just bring the question back to me as far as where what you mean.
Like the situation, how it was handled, your choices in it. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I thought you handled that well and covered every base. But on the real though, I knew exactly what I had. I knew what my baggage was. I knew where she was and where her status was. You know what I mean? It's just, I didn't want to bring that into the picture and where she have to stress about that because she was already headed up. You know what I mean? She was in a different part of her life, and I could see that she was gaining. I'm sitting here just coming out of a dark hole, seeing this light, and I'm like, I don't know if I'm good enough. I didn't know what my worth was. I really didn't. And Amen. To be away for that time and reach back out to her and find out that she was telling everybody that we were still good, just really just opened my heart up even more for her. It was like, man, she was really waiting for me. I didn't deserve that, but God had a different plan, right? So with that being said, we got back together, as if nothing ever ended. But it was just tough, bringing what I was going through with my other side into this picture of something that was just beautiful. And inspiring and it had so much hope in future. It's like, am I ready for this? Am I worth it? And here we are. Here we are.
That's beautiful. What's interesting in a blended family perspective is it's almost like all the focus immediately goes on to the parenting aspect of it, right? Like to the kids and trying to bring the family together. And I think what we gloss over really quickly is what we're tapping in right now, which is I had to heal in this process too. I had to get myself to the point where I was willing to love again as well. I had some things that I had to get over before I can even open myself up for relationship, in addition to the fact that I got to try to bring my kids together and my, all the parenting aspects that blended families have to face. And I think one of the resounding things that's sticking out to me is the necessity for us to give grace. For us to give grace to one another in this process, especially as it relates to what I'm dealing with as a person, what I'm dealing with in the parental perspectives, and what we need to deal with to bring our family together. And so I think that is a key thing that we have to remember is there's a relationship at stake in addition to the parenting that comes along with family. Now, don't get me wrong. We're here to talk about family, okay? Because in the common sense, you guys have a big family, right? And it it spans so many age ranges. When you start talking about a young adult, when you start talking about having to parent and be available in that guiding ram of a 28-year-old close to 30, that's much different than baby girl who is 1 month old. And you have all these ages in between. You're celebrating what's happening at Tuskegee with your son at the same time of picking up Pampers, so you got a lot going on in the scope of what you're managing. Before we get too far in that aspect, Art, tell me about your family.
My family is amazing. You know that we have a lot of kids. So just the age range from 28 to 6 weeks, it's amazing. We look at our family, our children, our bonus babies. That's what we call them. We don't use the word step. We don't use any of that. We've learned to just accept that we both have something to bring to the table, and we're going to work through it. You're going to work through it the best that we can. We're going to make sure that we have God in our life. And our family is amazing. I mean, each one of our kids went off to do something, that's none of our kids are strung out. None of our kids are married, out of marriage, babies, none of that extra stuff. All of our kids are just prospering, and that's what I see out of it. I'm amazed at every one of them. I think us being in this position and having this many kids makes us just well-rounded, and very understanding. You look at some couples out there or some relationships that, we have mothers and fathers that have multiple kids, but they're not together and keeping that relationship strong. Mm-hmm. So to me and Shelley, having bonus babies and just having such a big family, it only makes our bond stronger to make it work, to make sure that our kids aren't living as that. What am I looking for? just being one of those kids without, a solid family structure.
Mm-hmm. That's really good. And in addition to that, you've got so many other people tapping into the paternal perspective that you brings, it sounds like, on the job and in other places too. Mm-hmm. I'll tell you, the thing that I marvel at when I had a chance to be around you guys is how much you communicate about the kids. Like, you guys talk about it. You're exchanging ideas. You are taking into consideration all aspects of that parenting together. It didn't mean you always agreed. And I think that was the beauty of it, is that you didn't necessarily always agree, but you were willing enough to stick with the conversation and talk about whatever was going on, whatever needed to be addressed. And to me, that was remarkable. It never felt like it was something she dealt with. it's felt like it was something we dealt with. It never felt like it was something he dealt with. It was something that we dealt with. And I think in a blended family structure, that is a key component of how you're doing it successfully. Now, break it down for us, Shelley. Like, run us through the 8 age ranges. Like, tell us about everybody.
Everybody. So, from my 2 bonus babies, they're 28 and 25. And they live in California. They're beautiful women who are just going in their own directions. They've just really blossomed into beautiful people. And what I love about both of them is their heart. They both have hearts of gold. And that is really important to me. You made whatever choices you make in life, I want to always make sure your heart is pure. And then we have a 21-year-old who is a junior at Tuskegee. So proud of him. Because he's had a lot of things to overcome. He's the one who, interestingly enough, he's the one who's lived with us the entire time. So he's been there literally since day one. And so he's the one kid out of all 8 that's been there since the first moment that Art came into our lives and has lived with us the entire time. Then we have Taylor, who now is 14, and he's doing virtual school. This is my military man who he's going to definitely be somebody's officer of some sort, because he is the one I go to when I want to find out all the details of what happened, who done it, I'll find out. I can go to Taylor. Then we have Courtney, who is 12, and she is our first daughter together. And she is just a beautiful soul who loves art and dance and modeling and is just very creative and artsy, which is more so I think on his side than mine. And then we have the little boys, the ones we call the littles. And so the littles are AJ, who's the third. He's 9. He's like our little Michael Jackson. AJ gets out of work by, now this is going to sound bad, but it's not. Y'all remember Gator from Jungle Fever, how Gator used to like do dance? That's AJ. AJ be getting out of work. He be like, everybody doing dishes, and here's AJ. It's like, boy, go on over there and do the dishes. You're not going to Gator your way out of this one. Stop dancing and go in there. He was like, Mama, don't I look cute? Aren't you supposed to be doing the trash right now? So he is definitely going to be either a teacher or something. He's just very helpful. We have Jackson, who is 5. And Jackson's just literally like, I'm here, I'm running things, and everybody's going. He was the baby up until a month ago, and he still hasn't figured out that he's not the baby anymore. He's like, yeah, this new person's here, but I'm still the baby, right? You know, like I'm still gonna crawl into bed, and I need my story. He looked at me earlier, and he came in here like, isn't it story time? Like, what are you doing? And then we have Sydney Pearl. Sydney Pearl is our newest. She's 6 weeks tomorrow, and she is just a little burst of sunshine trying to figure out, what's going on. And she's just loved by everyone. So that's the range that we have. They're all unique. Every one of them is different. And we just love them. We love our family.
Wow, that is so much to keep up with. And I wanted people to hear it because they hear 8 children, but you know your children, you are involved with them, which is a huge undertaking to have that aspect and to be able to carry that through. Did you ever imagine you'd be blessed with so much and so many as a mom?
So you know the answer to this. Absolutely. So that's why you're asking. Absolutely not. I was a tomboy coming up. Everybody's like, they thought maybe 1, maybe 2, very driven. I went to Berkeley. I did all, I'm always been driven with my career. Got my doctorate before I was 40. Like, I'm like, but I'm still 25. Don't get it twisted. But
before you was 30.
Oh yeah, it was before I was 30. Good night. Oh, let me stop. I became a superintendent before I was 40. Yeah. It was yeah, you got this. So I never thought I was not, and even sometimes when people see my parenting style, you would think, oh my goodness, she's a mom of 8, because I'm still very much no nonsense. I'm still me. And that's where the yin and the yang comes in, because they know not to play that with me, but they go try it with him all the time.
And what about you? Did you ever want a big family?
Never expected in a million years.
Mm-hmm.
I'm serious. 8 kids, when Sydney Pearl, we discovered that she was on her way. That was just, I thought Jackson was it. I'm sitting up here talking about my cousins and stuff who are older than me, still having kids, like, y'all having kids and stuff. And boom, God said, the joke's on you, man. And, but we were blessed, we're blessed to have all these kids, but I never expected to have all these kids, not at all. But it just comes so easy. It does. Easy. I haven't missed a beat. Shelley hasn't missed a beat. And that's from that experience that we had. Mm-hmm. But I'm going to be said, it's safe to say this is it. Mm-hmm. Come on, man.
Come on, man. Come on, man. You got it. Conversations.
So when you think of the paternal responsibility of everything you're in for, shouldering as a dad, like what comes to mind, right? Because there is something that's different about being dad, right? What comes to mind when you think about that? And, the one thing I would add to it is God doesn't make any mistakes, right? So he knows that he has given you this assignment, this responsibility. He saw that greatness in you, to bless your quiver, to be so full. But when you think about the paternal dynamics of juggling all of that, like what sticks out to you? What are you grateful for? What comes to mind?
Just to piggyback off what you said, it's God's work, and that's how I look at it. It's like, if he's going to put this responsibility on me, I'm going to step up to the plate. I'm not going to leave Shelley hanging, you know what I mean? Out of my own fear and selfishness. If it was happening, it was going to happen, and I was going to be a man about it and take care of mine. Mm-hmm. That's how I look at all my kids. It's like, I'm there for you anytime you need something, whether it's homework, whether it's, sports, everything underneath the sun, I'm there for them. And I just think ultimately that's the right thing to do the right thing, and that's how I look at it. That's how I juggle everything. Who else is going to do it? You know what I mean? That's why I'm here. I'm here to do the job. Me and Shelley are here to do the job. Yin and yang. She handles some things and I handle some things, but it's never been a stressful situation. And the fact, like, I'm out of here. I can't do this no more. Never, because I'd be taken away from my kids, right? And that's not the plan. That's not the plan. We see that too much in our society, see that in our community, to where those kids, they don't have both parents in their life. And Shelley, had mentioned that that's what I do for my job, being in the community and seeing all these different pressures and stressors that these folks are going through. And I put myself in their shoes, and then I jump back in mine, like, this can never happen to my kids. I can't change my flow or anything that I'm doing, but I can take what I know already and put that back out into the community and let them know that there's some light coming from us.
Mm-hmm. I love how you guys make it a family affair too, because everybody got jobs and assignment. That I know that comes from Shelley, right? Just delving out the work and giving positions. You are the such and such, and you are the such and such. And so I love how you bring everyone into the vision. So tell us a little bit about that, Shelley, and how you have that etched out.
More so it's around building their skill set, because part of what we know is that school can only teach our kids so much. Mm-hmm. And being an educator, I only expect our kids to, from school, the ABCs, 1, 2, 3s. I want you to learn the basics of reading, writing, arithmetic, not to, sound trite or anything, but I really want them to focus on their studies at school. There's also a whole other gamut of skills and abilities that our kids need to survive. And oftentimes as parents, we forget that piece. We think, oh, they went to school, so they learned everything. No, they learned how to read, how to write, and how to do math. That's what school is for. But when it comes to understanding how to juggle different responsibilities, when it comes to understanding how to take care of your home, when it comes to understanding who you are you spending time in prayer, spiritual development? Are you spending time reading things outside of what the school is teaching you? What are your talents and abilities? Are you exploring that? Are you exploring different activities and sports or piano or band or whatever it is that may brighten up or enhance what it is that you are naturally gifted with? Those aren't things that the school is always going to build. Financial literacy, the school's not responsible for that. They're not going to teach your kids all of that. So we do still, as parents, regardless if you're in a blended family or not, we do have family leadership responsibilities. And so when we talk, a lot of times when we're trying to figure things out for each kid, it's not necessarily what we need to do. It's how do we need to approach this with Courtney? How do we need to approach this with Janique? How do we need to approach this with AJ or Jackson? Because the way we approach each child is going to be, who approaches is going to be very different, because we're trying to make like, okay, these are the lessons that we want them to learn through this, or this is the skill that we're trying to develop right now in the kids. Who is best to do this? How do we best approach it? How do we best get it done? If one of us is losing our patience, it's like, okay, Tag, you're it. I got this. And how much do we need to do versus how much do we allow them to do for themselves? And yes, they're going to mess up. We know they're going to mess it up along the way. How do we allow for that and show them how to fall forward? These are all skills that we have as families to teach our kids. And so we do our kids a disservice just thinking that we send them to school and they learned everything. And then when they come home, they just sit on devices or we ignore them and we're doing our thing and they're doing theirs. That's not healthy. That's not what leading your family is. What we try to do, and I'm not saying we're always successful at it, is everybody goes their different ways during the day, to work or whatever it is. But when we come home, we have family leadership responsibilities. And as you know, I'm an entrepreneur. So sometimes I'm working at home. He's doing the financial leadership. He's doing the Bible study with the kids. He's doing when we cook, we're going to bring everybody in. Let's figure out how to cook together, and all of these things that we can incorporate our kids into. And so them being a part of the businesses and a part of what we do is part of us parenting them. Yeah, you're going to learn how to work QuickBooks. Yes, you're going to learn how to, what receipts are and how to scan them and what that means. And that when I scan the card, it's not, I have my 5-year-old, Mommy, we could just card it. What do you mean? We could just card it. Oh, baby, you ready to learn about receipts and financial literacy. Let me go get your green light card. Come on. Let me show you something. And now he's going, okay, I have my wallet. I'm making money. I'm doing my chores. So when your 5-year-old saying, I can take, because they know that the chores for the child above them are going to eventually be yours. So Jackson's very clear that AJ's chores are eventually going to become his. Courtney's chores are going to become AJ's. Taylor's chores are going to become Courtney's, and so on and so forth. And they get paid more based on taking on more. So they've already they're clocking their money. They're starting to look at how am I going to, okay, if I do these chores, can I get this, treat, they're already thinking like that. That's family leadership. That's not something the school is responsible for.
That's beautiful. I love how you're incorporating that and training them so that they grow up with that understanding, because quite honestly, what that materializes into on the adult side of it is need for credit repair, need for like all of these different things, because we just didn't have the proper awareness and training as children to make better decisions and how to manage through some of those things as a part of our upbringing. And then we find ourselves making choices and decisions that we've got to figure out how to fix or figure out how to even understand for the first time, because we didn't have that type of literacy introduced into how we were trained growing up. I want to talk a little bit about co-parenting, especially with the other parents that are involved, and how you guys were able to navigate that, if at all. What was that picture like?
Let me tell you something about this dynamic woman right here. In our beginning, when things were getting ready to when things were serious and we were planning on moving in together, she decided to get in touch with my ex, because she knew that I had children as well, and that in order for these children to be apart, Shelley wanted to have that conversation with their mother. and let them know, you know what, this is serious. I'm going to be bringing these kids into my house. I want to build a relationship with you and make sure that we're on the same page about things, you know, when it comes to these kids, because those are your children. If they're going to be in my house with their father and with my kids, they need to know, you need to know that they're going to be safe. Mm-hmm. So let's build a relationship and let's do this thing together. Mm-hmm. It didn't fare out. It didn't play out well at all. Mm-hmm. So as far as the whole co-parenting thing, it was more of a weekend type deal. There was no really, you know, working together or no relationship or anything like that. So mm-hmm. we took what we had and we ran with it. Mm-hmm. And just stayed in prayer, hoping that, you know, things would work out. Mm-hmm. But as far as, you know, answering that question, it really didn't pan out as well as we wanted it to.
Okay. That's a really fair answer. And that is one of the complicated components, right? Mm-hmm. To the family structure like this, right? Where you have to deal with some disappointments in it, and you try to show up, and you try to show up authentically, you try to show up forthright, you try to show up and be open, but then you find that that's not received. And I think one of the things is, how do you navigate that afterwards? And I love how you put it, where we dealt with what we could get. We dealt with how it was available to us. Even though we may have showed up hoping for more, we weren't able to get that, but we still made good with what we got and tried to forge the relationship forward in that way. And that is probably one of the most hardest aspects of love again when children are involved, because not everybody wants to play fair, and not everybody wants to understand the value of truly being there for the children and prioritizing them as opposed to anything else. And so I appreciate your transparency with that, because I would probably say there's a number of people who are not alone in having that be their experience as well. And, you know, I think understanding that and being able to come back to your marriage relationship and find safety and security for yourself when you're dealing with that disappointment is really huge, because I have to imagine that felt like a big blow, right? It felt like a huge misunderstanding. It felt like a huge complexity that neither one of you had full control of to be able to deal with. And I'm just glad that you found a way to not let it come between you guys, right? That you were able to still bind together and not let it be an issue between you, and not let it be a burden between how your love was able to flourish from that. How difficult was that for you, Shelley, going through that experience?
I think it was more difficult for him than it was for me, mainly because, remember, on the other side of it, I'm also a mother. I have, you know, my ex, and I'm bringing my kids into it. And so for a while there, I had to put myself in her shoes, and everybody is not always ready to deal with what comes when it comes. And so I, you know, putting myself in those shoes, it's like, when you realize that the person you were with is now with somebody else, and not to say that, you know, this is how she felt, but this is where how I processed it. I'm like, you know what? It's not easy for everyone to realize when they get with somebody else, that's like the defining moment. It's really over. It's really like there is no more hope. And so I was also dealing with that with my son's father. Mm-hmm. And interestingly enough, it was like, you know what, everybody's going to handle that differently. And so, you know, how that worked out with her and him, I did my part by reaching out and making sure mother to mother, you know, I'm never going to, you know, put your kids in harm's way. But then after that, that's between them. They've got to figure out, they were the ones who married. They're the ones who made that baby. My job when they're here is to make sure that they experience a loving environment. I'm still going to be me. So everything is not all peaches and cream. And I don't want anybody to think that because we talk about blended families, that everything cream. Everything isn't. But what it is we do take the time to process things together. I took time to help him process his feelings. He took time to help me process mine. And then we also have this whole other side that we're dealing with. So I have to deal with my son's father. And interestingly enough, there's very little relationship there. I'm actually closer with the other, I hate to use this word, the other children's mothers, I guess you could say. We're actually closer. In fact, one of them, who I don't know if she's on tonight, but she is my heart. She was there when we got married. She was the person who put my veil down right before I came down the aisle. And she's the mother to, we share fathers of our children. And so there are all these different family dynamics that are going on. It doesn't make it easy, but it helped to try to put myself in that person's shoes. Like, if I wasn't necessarily ready, or if the breakup, I don't know all that happened between the two of them. I don't know. And that was a lot of it. It's like, I can't get into that. All I know is that things are a bit contentious, and we've got to figure out how we can move on, because we're not going to make that the center of our relationship, is the fact that there's challenges over here. When you're ready, and so for some parts of it, we had to wait until they turned 18. And now it's like, all right, well, cool. Because what we would always say is, you know what? I got the kids to worry about, and we're offering love. But if they're not ready, or if it's not being received, you can't force love. You can have to, what we always say is we have to love them from afar. We have to give them their space to grow, and everybody's going to learn and come to this at a different level. Doesn't mean it doesn't hurt. Doesn't mean that there's not a lot of harm that's caused that we're still working on repairing in many senses. But it does mean that's what part of parenting is. All parenting is not, all glamour and glitz and what you see on Lifetime TV. It's ugly stuff as well. When kids are struggling with, and I hope they wouldn't mind me saying this, but part of what the struggle was, oh goodness, my family's not getting back together. Like, that's still a struggle for the girls. That's a struggle for that they were dealing with. I didn't have to deal with that. Remember, I wasn't married before. So I didn't have this whole family unit that was torn apart. We had relationships, and we got to figure it out. Yeah, this ain't gonna work. and so it's a very different dynamic that he was dealing with than what I was dealing with. And I didn't want to place judgment on anyone's response to that, no matter how I was feeling. It's not my place to say, you're not handling this right. You should. That's not my place. I don't know what that woman's feeling and what's going on in their household. All I can do is take responsibility for my feelings and focus on our relationship and be able to move forward from there.
Yeah, I love that. And the thing I just want to echo strongly is the necessity to make sure that home is safe, right? And his home was with you, and he had to be safe there, and really find a place where there was acceptance, there was love, there was commitment, there was partnership, and there was the willingness to grow together. And I think that is the main thing, that when it comes to the relationship between you and your husband, that's going to help it stabilize for all of the factors we can control and all of the factors we can't control, is making sure we keep it tight and right here between me and you, right? And make that investment really, really strong. So I appreciate you guys sharing that story and your experience with us. Let me just navigate to this. Art, if you were to give advice to a husband that's struggling, right, in his relationship right now, what would you say to him? What advice would you give to him?
My advice to him would be if he's not a man of God, he needs to reach out and find somebody who has been through or have had that journey, who has walked that path with that kind of struggle. My advice to him is, if he has still got a strong relationship with his wife, is to stay the course. Stay the course. He needs to find out what his love language is and what her love language is. There's books out there for that. But it's like, it depends on how serious are you, what kind of ride or die dude are you? You know what I mean? It's like if you sat there and you had these vows and you married this woman, you know, that's forever, you know. So my advice is just to stay the course, be patient, be able to bend before breaking. You got to be able to bend, you got to be flexible. You know, you need to really take a good look in the mirror and look at yourself and have some humility on what the situation is. Open your ears, open your eyes to what she may be going through. Take a pause, step back, and listen to what your wife has to say or how she's feeling. Just look at the whole. You got your range. You can't be walking through your relationship with blinders on. You can't. You got to be wide open, and you got to be able to be soft enough in your heart to understand and take whatever criticism, you know, your wife may have towards the way you're approaching things, you know. But that would be my advice, is to just stay the course, have God as your center, listen to him, listen to that Holy Spirit that's in you. Because if you have discernment, then you're going to know that you're doing right if you're going to do wrong. Because you're just looking at your queen over here and you can see whether she's happy, whether she's sad, that you're paying attention, and then you're acknowledging her and what she's going through, and have that conversation with her, because she'll tell you, she'll let you know if you open up, get off your high horse, put that pride away, and be humble and be a loving husband.
That's good. What about you, Shelley? What advice would you give to a wife who may be struggling in her relationship?
I want to piggyback or jump off of exactly what Art started with. And there's a scripture that we always talk about. A wise man has many counselors. A fool counsels himself. And so the first thing I would say is to find solid, good-hearted, married Christian women to connect with. Notice I said solid, good-hearted, married. Your single friends can't help you. Right? They can't. There's nothing they can do for you right now, because you have to be in this for a certain amount of time in order to really understand marriage. Right. And that was part of what we did when we did experience some challenges. We literally found a marriage ministry at a local church, and it was absolutely phenomenal to come together with other married couples, because when you're talking with other married women, you start to realize that you're not alone. Oh, you mean what he's doing is normal? He's just like, clum dumb sometimes. Yeah, it's normal. Don't freak out. It's normal. And so when we normalize some of the trials and tribulations that you go through in marriage, there's something honoring in that, because anytime anything goes astray, we tend to look inward or outward, but most of the time we're looking like, what did I do wrong? Where did I go wrong? In the house. Okay, got it. Thank you. We're
getting a report.
We got a report. The dog peed on the rug. Thank you. So now I gotta go clean that up. Thank you, Jackson. Had to.
More transparency.
More transparency for y'all. We dealing with it. Gotcha. Okay. Thank you.
Good, Taylor. Get Courtney.
All right. Thank you. The other, I know you get the real deal when we're at home. But that's the biggest piece I would say, is that find some godly counsel around you. Become part of a marriage ministry if you can. There are many online. There are many here with Denise and other married women, because married women who have been through some of this, we're going to tell you when you're doing too much. We're going to listen to you. We're going to tell you, yeah, girl, that's going to blow over. Or no, this is a big one. You're going to have to, maybe seek outside support. But we're also going to, oftentimes our husbands are right there, usually because it's a paired thing. We do a lot of couple, we don't get paid for it or anything, but if folks come to us and say, hey, we're struggling, I'll come in and talk to the woman. Men can counsel men, women can counsel women. It should very rarely go the other way around, because there are things as a woman that you may be going through. Like right now, I just had a baby. My hormones are all over the place. And sometimes I might need my coattail pulled, like, woosah, relax. My girlfriend could do that. Like, okay, yeah, you're on one, and make sure you're okay. But really, a wise man counsels himself. And so if you're trying to just do this on your own, oh, I've got this. No, you don't.
Mhm.
A fool counsels himself. A wise man has many counselors. And
Mhm.
so find that circle of people that are going to help support your marriage. And we luckily have run into many couples. If you haven't traveled with the Taylors, go on ahead and travel with the Taylors. They will support you through that. And I'm being completely honest. When we were traveling with them, we could be real, and I could say, hey, Denise, okay, I'm thinking about this. What you thinking? Whether it was about business, whether it was about marriage, whether it was about kids, like we could just sit and talk. And so there are folks out there like that. And I know sometimes folks are like, oh, I don't want to put anybody in my business, or, there might be all of this trepidation that you may be experiencing, but we don't necessarily have, everybody's not like that. Every situation's not like that. And so the other thing I would say is be okay saying, I'm sorry. You are not perfect. You may need to swallow it up, shut it up, apologize, and say, I'm sorry. Give him some space. Men and women process things differently. And so learn, when he talks about learning their love language, you need to also learn their argument language, right? I tend to shut down. Art wants to talk. He knows, you better give me a moment. Otherwise, you're going to hear some stuff that you don't want to hear. Give me my minute, to get myself together. And might be vice versa. This is not gender specific. But when you start to learn your person's love language, I also know he doesn't like, going to bed with even a pea of an argument underneath the pillow. So I know I got to suck it up and talk at some point. Because that's making him uncomfortable. So you may have to adjust what's comfortable for you to adhere to him. Do it. This is your marriage. This is the one thing ordained by God. Swallow that pride, put that ego aside. That man was put on this earth to love you. Let him love you. But first, you got to love yourself and surround yourself with people who know that the marriage is the most important thing.
That's beautiful. So many nuggets in that. And I think people should just play it back and take some really, really great notes. So around these parts, I try to encourage people to build a life that they love without apology. So I always like to tap into wisdom and close out with my LLH questions, which is love, life, and happiness. So let me just roll through this. What would you tell your younger self about life if you could? What's your life wisdom, Art?
I would tell my younger self to guard your heart, not be as gullible, slow down, crawl, walk, then run, and just really take your time to respect others, because back then I didn't have I had respect. I was always nice. I was always the comical guy, but at the same time, I wasn't really dedicated or loyal, to friendships and things like that. But when you put yourself in a position to where you do open up, next thing you know, you're getting broken and your heart's broken. So I would tell myself, just guard your heart. Don't be as gullible. Make wise decisions. Get somebody around you to give you good counsel. Because I was a fool back in the day.
All right, Shelley, for you, what's your life wisdom? What would you tell your younger self about life if you could?
Everything's not that serious. That's my big thing. I'm a recovering perfectionist. I'm a recovering workaholic. I say recovering because I try at it every day, and then I end up staying up till God knows what time after I've done everything. But I think everything is not so serious. Stop and enjoy life. It's okay. It's okay not to be perfect. It's okay for everything not to be exactly where it should be. And there's a lot to be learned in failure. I came up in the age of, You got to be the best. You got to do, a lot better than everybody else. All of those messages. And I took that with me through life. And I noticed that I also instilled some of that possibly overkill in some of my kids. Right. And so Jordan, we didn't talk too much about him, but Jordan is just as much of a perfectionist. He is just as much he is literally my mini me. And I look at him sometimes and I go, oh my goodness, enjoy life. It's okay. So that would be my life wisdom, is that everything, that God has for you is already there. Your life has already been determined. So it's okay to slow down and enjoy it. Everything doesn't have to happen yesterday. Okay. And I'm still learning that today.
Yeah. I'm with you on that one. All right. So love wisdom. What would you tell your younger self about love if you could? I'll start with you, Shelley.
Okay. I was going to turn to him. I would say that, it's okay to love hard. Just be sure it's the right person to love hard. It took, I love, but it takes me a long time to open up. And so there's deeper love when you open up than when you're closed. And because like he said, guard your heart. I'm the one who has guarded my heart. He's very open. We're literally yin and yang. We're so opposite in so many different ways. And so I go into a lot of things, whether it's business, personal. I go in very guarded. I tend to crawl and move very slow. And you don't have to do that with everything. You don't have to do that with love. It shouldn't take, 10 years for you to open up in marriage. So that's what I would tell my younger self, is that when you get into a marriage, it's okay to open up. And yeah, you may get hurt, but there's always, love, lessons to be learned in love. I've been hurt before, and guess what? I'm still here. So, it may hurt, but you're going to be all right.
Okay. Art, what about you? What would you tell your younger self about love if you could?
I would piggyback on wisdom and what I said in the beginning as far as, guarding your heart. Because oh man. Okay. Sorry about that.
We have hawks outside and the dogs outside on top of everything else.
Okay.
Hawks and eagles. We live on the lake. So that's what he's looking at, is there's
I just
eagles
seen something
flying.
Okay. Sorry about
that. That's okay.
Is she barking anymore?
No, go get her.
Excuse me.
Okay.
Back.
All right, Shelley. So what would you tell your younger self about happiness? What's your happiness wisdom?
So my happiness wisdom is, and I had the question ahead of time, and I was thinking about that too.
You can come back to me.
Oh, you want to come back to me? Okay, we'll go back to you. Love wisdom.
Sorry about that.
Love wisdom.
We can't let things get too crazy, but I would go back to, saying guard my heart. Me, I'm just a lovable guy. I just am. I love everybody. I want to be everybody's friend. My daughters are like that. I'm just thinking about guarding my heart. That's what I would say. But I am what I am. I am what God has made me. The social butterfly. I bring you in. But being on this journey and being a man of God, I have learned that one of my gifts is discernment, So as I grow, I wish I had more discernment back then, if that's fair to say. That's what I would tell myself. That's something I would want to do.
Okay.
Tell my younger self.
Okay. Back to your happiness wisdom, Shelley.
Happiness wisdom. I think for me, enjoy the moment. Enjoy the moment. I tend to, as Art and I would say, he's like, you're always living 15 years in the future. You're always envisioning, you're always, striving for something else. And I don't always enjoy the moment like that, that's happening, even the little silly stuff. I would also say happiness wisdom for me is that it's okay to be a little bit more silly. It's okay to be a little bit more open, a little bit more extroverted. And I learned a lot of that from him. Everything that he's saying, he needs to do is be me, and everything I'm saying, I need to be more like him. But that there's happiness in that. And it's okay to enjoy the moment, even if the moment isn't the greatest moment. And the other thing I would say for happiness is trust that God has a plan for you. When I finally let go and just trusted, you know what, God, whatever it is I'm supposed to be doing, just please put your hands on it. You guide me. And when I truly, and this only happened a few years ago, and Denise knows because she was part of the movement to help me just truly let go of the control that was part of my perfectionism. I wanted to control everything. And, control meant I was successful. Okay, I have control of my money. I have control of this. I have control of that. And, there was a lot that was in that was saying, if I'm trying to control it, then what do I need God for? Right. And so there's happiness in enjoying the moment. And it's going to sound a little cliche, but truly let go and let God do what he needs to do. And if you just enjoy those moments, plan for the fun stuff. And also plan for this, the spontaneous. And I know that sounds kind of an oxymoron, but when I say plan for the spontaneous, I'm saying sometimes you need to drop your plans and, like we want to do something fun. Okay. All right. Because normally I'd be like, oh, we're going to do something fun. All right. I have a checklist. And it's like, you know what? No, I'm not going to do the checklist this time. I'm just going to allow myself to be happy. And so that would be my last piece is give yourself permission to be happy exactly where you are, exactly as you are, whether it's your weight, whether it's your looks, whether it's your job, allow yourself to be happy right where you are. And if we do, that's the key to happiness for me.
Oh, that's good. That's really, really good. Art, what about you? What would you tell your younger self about happiness if you could?
I was born a happy guy. I'm always looking for the good. I'm Mr. Silver Lining. I will always debate and go to war, trying to find the good in a person. But I would tell myself to take some things serious, to be more serious and be more committed. Finish things, not procrastinate. So out of those words, I would say to don't procrastinate. Don't be such a procrastinator. Learn to be happy, when it's time. Let go of all the silliness, because hey, if that's how you were, that's how you were. I mean, everybody who grew up with me could tell you, it's like, he's fun to be around. Fun, always fun, and never serious. So I would have to say, be serious, man. Yeah. Be serious. Take some things serious, man.
Because it's a serious matter.
Slow down a little bit. I tell Courtney all the time, slow down. But that's what as far as wisdom and happiness of wisdom or wisdom's happiness, that's what I would say.
That's awesome. I appreciate you two opening up your heart, your home, and your stories to share. There's always someone who is helped when we do Couples Love Week. And so I want you to know that it was a very, very valuable investment of your time. And I just want to close out by saying success looks so good on you. And thank you so much for joining me here. And I really, really want you to be free to go chase off the foxes, coyotes, eagles, and whatever else y'all got going on around the lake up there.
It was Courtney.
We
saw something flying, and it's our 12-year-old out there in the dark, in the snow, chasing the dog. Because no one told her that that's not your brightest idea, but whatever.
But Denise, if there was one more thing I could add, it would be to find balance. Find that balance.
Yeah.
It's like what I said it earlier, is like you got to be able to be flexible. You got to be able to bend. But all in all, it's finding that balance, knowing how she feels, her knowing how you feel, and how to approach you on certain things, So balance is key.
Yeah, it is. It's absolutely key. Well, thank you, Hope family. I appreciate you, and we will be in touch. Talk to you soon.
Right,
bye.
Bye-bye. Well, that's it, beautiful. Thank you for tuning in. Don't ever forget that you are truly blessed with life, love, and all the happiness your heart can hold. Be relentless in building a life you love without apology. I'm Denise Taylor, and you can always find me in our free Facebook community. It's Embrace Your Power, easy to find. Now be sure to rate and review this podcast and share it with a friend. And make sure you subscribe so that we can stay connected each week. And remember, God has not given us a spirit of fear. He gave us power. So be sure to always embrace your power and go.